unscheduled stop on alternate Route 40. The oncologist says, "Go home. Enjoy the time you have left." None of us speak between Johns Hopkins Hospital and Fells Point. Not a word in Little Italy. Silence circling the Baltimore Beltway. Finally, as we veer onto alternate Route 40 in Catonsville, my brother James inquires, "Is anyone else hungry?" 2 miles short of Ellicott City, Dad suggests, "There's a Greek diner just up the road." James, Dad, and I sit quietly in a Formica booth. Greek diner is a simple concept. Home, that's complicated. James, being from San Francisco, reads the menu on his phone. I don't need a menu to order a gyro, this being a Greek diner. Dad, being 72 years old, fiddles with the menu. His taste buds crave moussaka. His gut prefers pita bread. 20 miles short of my house in Frederick, 100 east of Dad's in Cumberland, decades since Mom died in Frostburg, we stopped to recharge in Ellicott City, a familiar place to ponder the path home. James checks the calendar on his phone. I can drop out of grad school until... Dad takes James' hand. "We'll be fine. You can visit." I stack my hand on theirs, say nothing. Hours later, we veer into my driveway, wheel Dad into the dining room, his home for the time he has left.
Thank you, George, for that. Over the past 2 years, I've changed the format of a lot of the readings that we do together to be more of a conversation. So can you speak a little bit more about, what prompted that poem, how it came to be? Like where did it come from?
It's a true story. My father was from Cumberland, and he died of cancer 20 years ago. And he was in and out of Johns Hopkins and Georgetown. Mm-hmm. And we, the family, went back and forth between, and we had jobs and we were busy, but we took time for him. And I could just remember one day when we received the fatal diagnosis, like we can't do anything else to help. We were driving home and went to a Greek diner, which we'd stopped. We knew about it before, but it's just this anchor that I think of about where we were and what we were thinking, and this place where we were stopped and had to contemplate, where do we go next?
Thank you, George. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think I don't write that many poems, but the ones that I like most, that are the best for me, are the ones that are true and not the ones that are like made up.
Yeah. Right. We have a good friend, Martina Spada, and he said to me a long time ago, you have to have something to say, right? Something genuine to say. right? About your life. And you just shared that with us. And I think you're right. It, it's not made up. It's not. So my nephew has written a science fiction book, which I cannot connect with because it's all made up. But what you just said, George, about being truthful and real, I think that's what it comes down to. And I think even in our classes, I mean, this is the magazine reading, but what you reminded us of is that being truthful and genuine, it speaks to people, and it does, and it does. So thank you so much.
A friend of mine once said that you don't write the poem writes you.
Thanks, George. We're going to move on to Kate. Kate, are you here? I think you were. Yes. Okay. Well, it was great bumping into you. When was that? Yesterday or the day before?
Let's see. It's got to have been yesterday.
I lose track of the days. I'm sorry.
It's very easy to do. I tend to lose track too.
How was your day today?
It was good.
What did you do?
Ran a few errands, got a little work done. Took care of my cats.
I think I saw your car. I think I saw your car in the parking lot at Prince Frederick. Are you the crazy cat lady?
Yep.
That's you.
Yep.
Okay. So, where did emerging come from?
Well, it was inspired by a book that I think I was given it last Christmas. It's an anthology of coffee poems, and
What poems?
Poems about coffee.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And I read it and was thinking, that'd be kind of interesting and fun to write a coffee poem. And this is what I came up with. And
before you read it, okay, I want to let everybody know that you do have a book coming out, right?
Yes, it's coming up pretty imminently. I don't know the exact date yet, but hopefully it will be out by Christmas. Thanks. Anyway, my poem is called Emerging. I have to leave the house today. It's only errands, commonplace, or used to be, before the world locked down and how we all live changed. As I make breakfast, my mind reviews an anxious pre-flight checklist, efficient route, completed list, fresh mask, sanitizer, keys, and phone. I press the button and hear the coffee maker hiss and swirl and hum. My favorite mug feels familiar, warm, the complex taste of French vanilla with macadamia beneath begins the day same as it has for years. Though life has altered radically, not everything has changed.
Thank you. Can't teach that. Mikhail, are you here?
Yes, Neil. Yeah. Okay, Neil, yeah.
Okay.
You want me to read?
Right.
You want me to read?
Yes, I would love for you to read. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We've had a lot of blanket coverage of the COVID on, especially on by it. On one occasion to a classic music station, and it happened to be playing Bach's "Sheep May Safely Graze," and it prompted the following poem, which is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, a reaction to the COVID and what it's doing to us. Giraffes may safely graze on high leaves, craning their necks. Above us, sanitized, mask-wearing, socially distanced, nervous wrecks. Once we were proud, we walked tall. Now, half stoic, half crazed, supplicants who creep and crawl, our scabby knees unsafely grazed. That's it.
Where'd that come from?
Well, as I say, from just happening to hear the melody of Bach's "Sheep May Safely Graze," and I suppose reflecting on the kind of stuff I was listening to on that news, and deaths,
It's a beautiful poem.
and so. Well, there's a little bit of tongue in cheek about it as well. It's not. It's not as. I don't do as much doom and gloom as that might suggest. I've written quite a lot about the pandemic, and I mix the serious with the light-hearted and humorous. So thanks for accepting it, Neil. It's nice to put it out there.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us, Michael. And that you're zooming in from what, 5-6 hours away.
Yeah, that's one of the positive things about the pandemic. I think we got to connect with people from a long way away.
But I hate this. I'd rather have you
Beautiful.
in. I'd rather have you in.
I know that, Jim.
Sitting around a table and sharing a cup of tea or something. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I'm just so sick of it.
Someday I see you in Maryland.
Say it again.
Someday I hope to see you in Maryland.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. All right. Now, I want to introduce to you again one of my dear friends, Jennifer Polemus, who has basically been with me from the first time that I started teaching at the college. And a couple times she asked me, not in these words, but something like, do you know what you're doing? And I said, no, just making it up. But it turns out that making it up as we go along, like I didn't have a strict workshop schedule or anything like that. I mean, we just did stuff as it came up. And I so much appreciated that. Not for myself, but for the fact that she actually recognized the fact that I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't have any answers. I cannot tell you how to write a poem. You got to figure it out on your own, right? Which she has done over the past 20 odd years. So I'll turn it over to Jennifer now for sitting in the mystery.
Hello, my dear one. How are you, Neil?
I'm okay.
Then I'm okay. And hello to everybody out there in Zoom land. I still, even though we're not physically together, I still feel a connection with you. And I've done a lot of work and growth and becoming in this community of connections. And it's very treasured to me. So I thank you, Neil, for keeping it alive. And I just want to say hi to my sister Jane, who's in the hospital, and my sister who's with her. They're connecting from her hospital room. So I just want to say hi to them. So this is called Sitting in the Mystery. As she tells me her story of brokenness, I realize I am hovering in the aboves and belows of consciousness, where my own heart releases me from blindness, from bondage in past and future, and casts my truth onto the shores of now, this sacred moment. Shadow and light share their quantum dance in an autumn meadow, naked, under a waxing gibbous moon. I can feel my life mysteriously calling as I watch my dreams and who I thought I would be turn to dust. I look into her eyes then, so full of emptiness, swallowed by anger that devours all other emotions, and know that my magic making, my devotions and potions, words in whispers, strings of energy looping us together as the serpent goddess coils up my spine, crosses over yours where the third eye looks upon our genderlessness, and our venom alchemizes into an elixir offering the fearful comfort of nothingness. There is a queer beauty in silence that floats like diadems around my crown and down my arms, drips from my fingers into the endless pool of another day.
There are times when I don't know what to say.
That's when I know it works.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Neil.
And it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right. So what I'd like to do is to transition a little bit here to, I guess it's a plug for the Connection series. We've had, let's see, 4 writers this fall. And we're going to have another 4 in the spring. But what happened in, when was that win? Was it last month or in October?
When did what happen?
With Quay.
Well, yeah, last month now, yeah. November 9th. Yeah.
So what I'd like to share with you guys is just a short segment of a program that I was blessed to be a part of with my dear friend Wayne Carlin and Ho Nguyen, who was the moderator, and Quay Mai, who was a Vietnamese writer. And I would just like to play this video for you guys, just because it captures the spirit of what we're trying to do here this evening. Okay, so give me a second to share the screen.
A poem in her book of poetry here. It's called The Secret of Hoa Sen. Hoa Sen means lotus blossom in Vietnamese. So would you mind reading bài thơ chưa thầy đặt tên? The poem I cannot yet name. And this book of poetry had been translated. One side is English and other side is Vietnamese. And I will ask my friend Wayne to read the English translation. Wayne? I have it. Okay. Page 18, 19.
I must say how honored I am to be in conversation today with Professor Wayne Kalin. I've admired his work for so many years, and Professor Kalin has done so much for Vietnamese literature. I don't think I could have been here without him. He opened the pathway for so many writers before me. And you know, for me to be published in English is just something that I could not imagine. And this journey would not have been possible without people like Wayne, who dedicated such big parts of his life to the editing of the translations of Vietnamese work and publishing them and introducing voices from Vietnam to the American public. So this poem is for my grandmother.
In the camera right here.
Maybe I just stand here, is it okay?
Well, stand here. No, you'll be out of the camera. Stand right here. It's good.
Bài thơ chưa thể đặt tên. Nâng bát cơm trên tay, những hạt gạo gặt từ cánh đồng, và tôi nằm xuống. Từng hạt gạo ngọt thơm như lời ru của bà tôi, người tôi chưa hề biết mặt. Tôi hình dung khuôn mặt bà mềm mại khi bà được chôn vào lòng đất, quần áo tơi tả ra dính chặt với xương. Trận đói năm 45 làng tôi đói mồ chôn xác chết. Mồ bà không ai biết. Bát cơm đắng miệng cha tôi 65 năm. 65 năm sau, hương hồn tổ tiên dẫn cha và tôi đến trước mộ bà. Lần đầu tiên tôi nghe cha gọi mẹ, cánh đồng lúa sau lưng cha run rẩy. Hai chân tôi gắn chặt vào bùn, ngay trong khói hương hồn bà lan tỏa, bám sâu vào rễ, mọc rễ vào ruộng đồng. Bà sẽ hát ru gọi lúa chỗ đồng. Nâng bát cơm trên tay tôi đếm từng hạt gạo, từng hạt óng ánh mồ hôi của tổ tiên tôi còng lưng gieo hạt. Từng hạt hóng gánh thơm lời ru của bà tôi đơm lên từ đồng đất. Ngoài kia trong hoàng hôn, lời ru của bà tôi khe khe ở chỗ đồng. So now Wen has to sing too.
I'll spare you all that. I want to say, first of all, the idea we had to invite my friend Professor Ho to do this, it's paying off. I'm so touched by the way you introduced us and the way you put your heart into it. It's so much better than reading a list of awards and so on. And Quay, thank you for your remarks, but it's been such a privilege to be able to work with you and to have you here. And I'm very grateful. And before I read the English translation, I want to read the footnote that's there. And by the way, the English translation, I also want to thank the poet Bruce Weigel, who's a friend of mine and a friend of Quay Mai's, who edited. The footnote is this: the Vietnamese famine of 1945 occurred in northern Vietnam from October 1944 to May 1945 during the Japanese occupation of French Indochina in World War II. Between 400,000 and 2 million people are estimated to have starved to death during this time. And Quay Mai's grandmother was one of those people. And this is an important context for the poem and for what she writes. Titled "The Poem I Can't Yet Name." My hands lift high a bowl of rice. the seeds harvested in the field where my grandmother was laid to rest. Each rice seed tastes sweet as the sound of lullaby from the grandmother I never knew. I imagine her soft face as they laid her down into the earth, clothes battered, her skin stuck to her bones in the great hunger of 1945. My village was starved for graves to bury all the dead. Nobody could find my grandmother's grave, so my father tasted bitter rice for 65 years. After 65 years of searching, spirits of my ancestors led my father and me to my grandmother's grave. I heard my father call, "Mom," for the first time. The rice field behind his back trembled. My feet clung to the mud. I listened in the burning incense, how my grandmother's soul spread, joining the earth, taking root in the field where she quietly sang lullabies, calling the rice plants to blossom. Lifting the bowl of rice in my hands, I count every seed, each one glistening with the sweat of my ancestors, their backs bent in the rice fields, the fragrance of my grandmother's lullaby alive on each one.
We're waiting for the singing.
And so, Wayne, why didn't you sing?
Mercy for the audience.
So the magazine is one part of our program, but that exchange with Dr. Ho and Quay and Wayne, it was in a classroom, Rachel Smith's classroom, and it generated conversations that I don't think could have been generated online. So, I mean, Wayne, before you read Mirror, could you talk a little bit about what that experience was like?
Yeah, this was based on an incident that happened back in 1993. I first started meeting some of the Vietnamese writers who had been on the other side of the war. And I'd been in the Vietnam War as a Marine, and became a writer afterwards. So it was an experience of meeting people who, if we had met them, 20 years before, we would have tried to kill each other. And we all, lived together actually up in Boston, the University of Massachusetts, for a program. And one of the Vietnamese writers who was there was a woman, Layman Quay. And during the war, she had been what they called in the youth volunteer corps. This was on the other side. And these were teenage girls that they took out of high school, and they would work along the jungle trails that we would bomb, and the girls would come out after the bombing, and they would fill in the craters, and they would take care of the wounded and the dead. And that's she spent age 15 to 19 doing that. And when she told me that, because she had held back for a time about saying what she'd done in the war, and so did I. They were kind of sitting together at a breakfast table, and she told me that, and I, at that moment, I had this vivid memory of a mission I had been on when I was a helicopter gunner over the same area that she was talking about, and firing down into that jungle canopy. I didn't have a target; we were just told to fire down there, and just the thought that. If she had been there, I would have tried to kill her. And if my helicopter was shot down, she'd have, applauded. She would have been happy. And here we are, sitting across a breakfast table. We'd both become writers. So the poem is about that incident. And
Oh,
it's called Mirror for Layman Quay. At 15, she'd run away to join the army to fight you, she said. She'd never been this close to an American before. I was 19, I said. Once, she said, she spied on GIs bathing their caisson, needing to see them unshelled and human, but they were too far away. She couldn't see anything. You were ghosts to us too, I said. The helicopters scared her the most, she said. They came down. I know, I said, and thought of how differently each of us heard those 3 words, and then thought of her crouching under jungle canopy, the downward arc, the red flashes of my tracers, the strangeness of connection. 20 and more years before, I'd searched for her on the ground as she'd searched for me in the air, our eyes aching with the need to see. But I didn't see her beneath the green canopy, the camphor smoke twisting like ghosts against dark mountains. And she didn't see me in the stir of treetops, the light shivering like panic through the branches, until now, as simply as forgetting a dream. We looked and our faces emerged as if from leaves, as if from sky.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. All right, Sarah, are you here? It doesn't look like it. So Wayne and I have a very dear friend who passed away recently, and he spent maybe 40 years at the College of Southern Maryland, and his name is Roger Horn. And Judy has written a poem about him. We did a ceremony to honor his contribution to the college and to, you know, basically generations of students. And part of me wants to take a minute to just, you know, stop and remember him, but many of you may not know him. But you can, if you go to the Connections website, we have a video of our memorial to him, and I'm not sure anymore whether teachers have the kind of dedication to their students that Roger had, and that Wayne has, and that Rachel has, and like, but you try to the best of your ability to engage. And his deal was listening.
Mm.
He taught me how to listen as a teacher. So I'm going to turn it over to Judy at this point and ask you to share your beautiful poem for Roger Horn.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First of all, it seems it's a celebration poem of sorts. So it seems so easy to have written compared to some of the other poems. You can see the struggling. So it's in some ways, while it's a poem about a death, it's really a celebration. It's a very different kind of thing. I almost feel foolish because it wrote itself. Like George had mentioned, you don't write the poem writes you. Well, this poem wrote itself. And mostly it wrote itself because of the words that Wayne Carlin and Edna Troiano specifically spoke about Roger Horn at the service celebration that was held, kind of the hybrid virtual, and some people were there in person, which gives the main reference points in the poem. So this isn't I didn't plagiarize the poem, but this poem wrote itself, really. And then Roger appeared in one night, not in a weird way, but he was, as he used to be in the copy room, which was, we would gather and he'd have his anthology out, paging through, looking for something, wanting to share some wonderful anecdote. So this was, as Neil is saying, this wonderful, wonderful person that offered so many things. And so to have his death in the time of the COVID, although it wasn't related to anything like that, but to be able to celebrate something in such an odd, ironic way, if you will. So this is a tribute to him, really. And again, I got to say that Wayne Carlin's responsible for the definition of mensch, which he spoke of so beautifully in the comments he made, the definition about it's something too good to be true and how that would work. And then Edna Troiano, who many of you would know, who've been at the college too, another long time dear friend, colleague over so many wonderful years at the college as it was growing and everyone was growing, who used the white hat reference. So again, it seems like this poem wrote itself. It was not anguished at all by me. I just feel like I passed on through. So let me see if I can read it and give it some credit and share it with you. So it's called For Roger Horn, the Mensch in a White Hat. What is in a life? A life well lived, that is. So what is in a life? A life well lived, that is. After that life has been lived, what is left? Admiration for the one who lived that life, gratitude from the survivors who shared that life, fond memories, deep respect, great love. The spouse, children, grandchildren, family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, all manner of people who cross that life simply, the life now ended. They all reflect on that life with sadness and loss profound. They always looked up to this mensch in a white hat and know now with certitude that he was never too good to be true. Roger that.
All right.
And y'all wanted to say, Roger, where are you? We need you.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah. But more than Roger, it was like a presence, right? He was a spirit that we were blessed to be in contact with. I mean, I'm sure that there are other Rogers.
Roger that.
but not that one.
No.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you.
Good to see
All
you,
right.
Judy.
How's your life? Judy, where are you living now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking something. Oops. Can you hear me?
No. Yeah.
Unmute.
Now you're muted.
I'm in Piscataway National Park, where I've been, and I'm being more appreciative of the indigenous people here now. And I had a wonderful day with my daughter, who I see is here, and I see my other daughter is here as well. So hello.
Ways of bringing people together, right? Go, well, I mean, is this a complete waste of time? Or is sharing stories and poems and reflections and conversation like that makes us most human? And when we walk away from that, when we get wrapped up in so many different things during a day, we lose contact with that one thing that makes us feel most human, and that is connection to other people. So thank you, Judy. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I haven't seen you in a long time, but I know your work is just so welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Zoe, do you want to read something?
Did you say Zoe?
Should I say Zoe?
No, I'm sorry. I just couldn't hear you. My name is Zoe, yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. And I know, but I didn't hear back from you about whether you would read or not. But I would love for you to share some of your work with us.
Sorry, I didn't know I had to respond. My bad. Okay, this is a poem I wrote called "Though we are day and night, we can love each other all the time." The sun leaned to the moon and said, "Good day," even as she shined and walked away. The moon smiled as the night crept in, despite the lurking black as dark as sin. One might wonder why night and day even converse, but they fail to think of the balance of the earth. The two sides of a coin may differ, but they still touch. The sun and the moon rely on each other as such. For without day, there is no night, and to be blind, you must be aware that there is sight. On clear summer evenings, together they sit, silently in love, though neither will admit. So smile the days both the sun and moon are in the sky, because normally the two lovers don't get the chance to look each other in the eye.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Well, I am quite a romantic, both in the literary sense and the literal sense. And I've always enjoyed writing about hope and love and like the bright things in life. A lot of people prefer to dwell on they use poetry as like an outlet in terms of writing about the negative, but I've always tried to write more on the positive side. And this is both just me liking to, look at the sky and write about my surroundings, and also inspired by my relationship with my partner, in which we are polar opposites.
It's amazing how a poem like that can come from something so just ordinary, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's not extraordinary. Like it wasn't like some complete catastrophe. It was just like a human interaction, and you came up with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone in the room have anything else they'd like to read?
Well, I could read my my story. This is Steve.
Oh, Stephen, I'm sorry. Yes, please do.
And by the way, I sent you a late email because I couldn't find the link, so ignore that. I did Google and I wrote a couple of sentences that brought me home here. So ignore that that previous email. Thank you, Neil. My story is called A Hero to Homeless. November 4th, 2003. Dear Travis, everybody here in Georgia is eager to welcome you home. Welcome home, the best damn soldier in the U.S. Army. Son, I trust you are serving your country well over there. Be a leader always, son. Only 6 weeks left on your tour. You will report to my buddy at Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning. I arranged everything. I'm counting on you, Travis. Don't mess up. Make me proud. Dad. In a barren, rocky region of Afghanistan, several armored combat vehicles travel at a deliberate pace up a dusty road to a cluster of tan and gray mounds leading to an open dryland hummock. Big, rugged U.S. Army Sergeant Travis Hunter rides shotgun in the lead vehicle. He pulls out a little folded letter after he can no longer see through the dirty windshield. The soldier driving says, "We're approaching the target, Sergeant. Should you be reading?" Hunter, bristling with strong-minded determination, ignores the question and keeps reading the letter from home. Sergeant Hunter replies hurriedly, "Letter from Dad. Came just as we were packing up." "Everything okay, Sergeant?" "He's getting me into officer training. You deserve it after 4 combat tours, but I thought enlisted personnel needed special clearances to get into officer training." Travis smiles and replies, "You don't know my father." The old road is rocky, creating too much vehicle noise and slowing progress. The soldier at the wheel says, "We're here. Enemy compound is over the ridge." The lieutenant says that a soldier interpreter on patrol picked up Taliban chatter. "They're in that flat structure, just a bit more." "Yes, right over there, Travis." He slows the vehicle to a crawl with the others. Sergeant Hunter folds his father's letter and tucks it into a chest pocket as the armored convoy drifts to a halt, motors silenced. Hunter takes charge. "Listen, the lieutenant wants us to go on foot. Come on. Take your weapon and follow. Watch for side movements." The U.S. patrol forms 2 columns, each in a single file up the ridge. Point men for each column sweep for improvised explosive devices, IEDs. The columns move quickly and lightly with minimum clatter. The 2 columns converge near the earthen structure. A crackle of automatic weapons breaks the silence and a premature grenade explodes in the air as the soldiers scatter behind boulders. Hunter stays up halfway on his knees and pumps both hands palms up for the men to lower their voices randomly, saying, "There, there, see them? Heads up." He ducks flat on the ground with Lieutenant Sam Jones, who whispers, "Hunter, take 6 guys and advance to the right. We'll go left. Go, 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 go." The hunters open fire on the structure, raising clouds of dust. As they advance, return fire hits Lieutenant Jones, the first up. Another round hits a soldier who then stays back with wounded Jones, who is holding his bloodied right knee. The firefight lasts just 6 minutes until shooting ceases from the earthen structure. At the quieted structure, the armed U.S. soldiers kick in an old wooden plank door. They find a large cache of weapons and just 2 dead enemy soldiers. Sergeant Hunter quickly assesses the situation. "Men, pile these weapons up. I'll check on the lieutenant and get a vehicle to load up." He then speaks into a hand radio to Lieutenant Jones. "All clear, sir." When he then spots the lieutenant huddled behind another man, Hunter runs to Lieutenant Jones and the soldier, who is frantically working bandages and tourniquets. The soldier ignores his shoulder wound and treats Jones first. Jones says, "We need to get back to the forward operating base before sundown, Sergeant Hunter. Get stretchers. Harris here caught one in the shoulder and will be okay, but my knee, oh." Jones is writhing in pain. but maintains a self-assured tone and demeanor. Hunter is inspired by the lieutenant's fighting spirit and reports stalwartly, "Sir, the men are loading the cache. We took out only 2 enemy. I'll be back soon. This area should be okay, sir. The Marines cleared it Monday. Be careful, Sergeant, and make sure each of your steps back to the vehicles are exactly the way we approached." Hunter is already running as Jones adds, "Same footsteps. Hear me, Hunter?" Hunter hastens down the hill with an M249 light machine gun and his holstered M9 Beretta on his hip. He feels for his father's letter over his heart as he climbs into the vehicle to drive to the wounded men. He doesn't realize that the soldier who drove the vehicle to the firefight left the front wheels turned sharply to one side. Hunter begins driving, but the vehicle veers off to an uncertain course on the dusty road. An explosive sound and a flash of light in the fading daylight flips the vehicle, throwing bulky Sergeant Hunter 10 feet away. Moments later, the semi-unconscious warrior Hunter hears the approaching medevac helicopter pulsating, whop, 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 and the spinning blades and its roaring turbine engine. Baltimore, Maryland, 5 years later. On a misty, cold October weekday morning, former U.S. Army Sergeant Travis Hunter, a wounded warrior now 33, wakes up lying on concrete under the Russell Street exit ramp. He pours water from an old Army canteen over his head and wipes his face. His full red-brown beard is unkempt and to his shoulder and to his chest. He ambles off aimlessly, carrying a folded wheelchair of rust and dents. The ambulatory chair is missing one footrest. He carries it only to the edge of darkness near Oriole Park at Camden Yards, where amber streetlights might expose his game. Only then does he get into the rickety chair and covers his legs with an olive green blanket. Travis wheels himself through a smelly alley leading to his first stop of garbage cans and a dumpster behind a Greek restaurant on Pratt Street. A Purple Heart medal is pinned to his tattered, greasy Army shirt. He wears a well-worn Atlanta Braves baseball cap from the 1980s. Travis is a big and muscle-bound even in the wheelchair. Yet the most distinguishing feature of his physique is in his twisted and awkward posture, and that leaves his tanned and chiseled features in an expression of perpetual pain. Yes, he fakes needing the wheelchair. He is not faking the twisted look. Down the alley, Travis is disturbed to find another vagrant lying next to the dumpster. He becomes anxious, causing spasms to begin in his twisted neck. He holds his jaw to the left to control tremoring spasms, but he continues wheeling to the unconscious soul. He walks to the limp body and checks for life. It's a woman. "Hey, you there, lady, wake up." The former soldier gathers up semi-conscious Mary Ann Guilford, 28. He places her into his wheelchair and starts pushing it. Mary Ann regains consciousness quickly and fearfully. "You a doc? Hey, I can walk, mister. Get your hands off." Daylight is breaking slowly with a heavy, low cloud cover. "Listen, lady," Travis barks to the ungrateful woman. "I just want to help you. You got blood all over your clothes." She panics. Are they gone? I mean, the dogs? Oh God, where are they? You mean street dogs did this to you? Well, I didn't do it to myself. Hey, what's wrong with your neck? You look worse off than I am. Your head's all crooked, mister. Travis turns away disgusted. Okay, none of it, my damn whatever, right? She says. Hey, dogs were in the dumpster, angry. The Greeks throw bags of uneaten lambs in there, and I tried to get some. As he takes charge of the situation, the pangs of anxiety calm in his stomach, and Travis's muscle spasm stops. Stop. He says, I know about the Greek throwaways. Dogs got to it first, huh? I'm sorry. Come, I'll fix you up. Got a name? That's it.
That's it. Well, actually, I don't think that's it. I think that people have stories to tell, and they go on and on and on, right? So, I mean, that's one. And thank you, Stephen, for sharing that with us. But I don't think that's it. I think every day we wake up and we have stories we should be telling to other people, because it becomes just a way of connecting. You know, I mean, with the damn pandemic, I'm like isolation, and through stories and poems and photography, it could be that we're creating connections between each other. And I mean, Wayne and Roger Horn started this program a long time ago. I've picked it up and I've been doing it for a while, but I do believe that sharing stories and photographs and poems, it just, like, it makes people feel a little more connected to each other. And we may not be back face to face in the spring at CSM. We may not. I mean, that's the idea, that's what they want to do. But it may or may not happen with this new variant. I don't know what it's called. But I think what we've done over the past hour, I think it's probably better than a booster shot. I think being connected to somebody and if we can continue to do this, which we fully intend to do, will encourage people to understand the importance of being connected to another person. Yeah, well, yeah.
If I may,
say it again.
If I may, this story is an adaptation of from my novel called Travis Hunter, and it's inspired by someone's very close to me who is suffering from a head injured related traumatic condition that she lives with. And when I was working in a newsroom in Baltimore near the medical center there, I saw these guys along Martin Luther King Boulevard panhandling constantly, and some of them were wearing military outfits or partial outfits. And I got inspired to look into the amount of research that's being done for post-traumatic stress problems. And there's really not enough. There aren't enough treatments. So the novel and an essay about this to advocate for more research was inspired by that. And the rest of the story of Travis Hunter is in the book, and you'll see who and when he's helped and how he's helped, and He's just one case of many, many collateral injuries, collateral problems that these guys have after the war that people just don't know about. So I just wanted to add that before we close off. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stephen. Anybody else? I'll get off my soapbox, but I do believe sincerely that sharing stories and poems and photographs, they're not going to solve all the problems, right? That we have, but I think it's more toward the human and less toward the just being completely negative and deciding that everything's going to hell anyway. So, to the extent that we can continue to do that by encouraging writers like you all, photographers like you all, I think that's worth it.
Thank you for creating the forum, Neil.
Excuse me, Neil.
For your work.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was here to support Erica, but y'all's kind of inspired me. Can I share a brief poem with y'all, please?
Say it again.
Can I share a brief poem with you, please?
Absolutely.
It says, trapped in illusion, stuck in yesterday, a massive confusion, tired of the game they play, sick of conformity, tired of complacency. Step outside your comfort zone and see what you can be. Light burning inside of you, you must let it out. Push aside all the shame and doubt. Money and power, prisons all their own. You can have it all, but you might wind up all alone. Creatures of habit are what we are, but sometimes we are misled by our scars. Deep introspection leading to compassion and love, to a place where our heart wraps around our mind and fits just like a glove. Spewing venomous poison from our mouths and our eyes. Too many dirty looks and way too many lies. There are lessons to be learned, or you'll have to take another turn. Living is painful, but worth every tear, because eventually your purpose will come clear. A big house and shiny car never makes us feel complete. It only makes us devolve if we feel we must compete. Working together can no longer be misunderstood, for planet Earth is everyone's hood. In our society, we are misinformed by misinformed people. So few see the depths of their evil. Yes, I just try to be evil with people, but that is for a reason, because some are only meant to be in your life for a season. Your roots should be strong and diverse, for in change you will find your self-worth. I looked into my heart, did not like what I saw. I knew in an instant I had to change it all. Thank you all.
Where'd that come from?
I probably got thousands of them. I've written about 1,000 of them I've written over the last 2.5 years. I got hurt on the job, and I've had four surgeries in the last 15 months. And I've had an interesting life, to say the least. I've done a lot of wrong, but I've changed a lot in the last 5.5 years. And it all comes out in my words.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You didn't have to. Right. But I think having a forum like this where people get the chance to just share what they most cherish. And I believe, Don, that what you just read, it it's very, very, very deep, and I felt it. I mean, I got chills when you were reading it, to the point where it did revive my belief that people are good. We're not put here to do harm, right? And the stories and the poems and the photographs that we've talked about this evening, I think, go back to the initial question, which you just reminded us of. And that is, this life is to be cherished. This life is to be treasured. This life is to be celebrated in any way you do. I mean, look, if I got a friend of mine, he's a carpenter out in Wisconsin. He's a poet, but he loves to build houses. And you go, well, that's a celebration of life right there, right? And you go, well, no, you should be writing poetry. No, I should be building houses. And he's like, okay. So I want to thank every single one of you for the time that you've spent and dedicated to being here this evening. We're going to keep doing it, and I will post, and you can look. I mean, we've got a lot more readings coming up, and we're going to do another magazine in May. So, you know, if there's anything on your mind or anything you want to write about and submit, please do, because I think at the end of the day, once this well runs dry, we're screwed. Okay? We cannot let poems and stories and photography, we can't let it go. I mean, that's the thing that connects us to each other, even in a pandemic. You know. So that's what we're attempting to do. And that's what we've been doing for, I mean, I've been doing it for like 27 years or something like that. I don't even remember anymore. But I so much appreciate your participation and your attention and your wonderful stories and poems. And we'll keep doing it. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure Diane didn't want to talk about her photograph. I think we missed her.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Diane.
Hi. Yeah, so I would love to talk about my photograph if you guys have a moment.
Please do.
It's so wonderful to see everybody tonight. And speaking of connecting with everyone, I see Judy's online, and I miss you, Judy, dearly. It's so wonderful to hear your voice with you and Dee. It just brings back memories of the English Honor Society and just bringing back those memories and talking to you, Judy, in your office and those times that we had in class. I even started picking up our intro to literature book again.
Oh, good. Excellent.
I flagged the poetry sections. I'm hoping one day I can submit a poetry to the Connections magazine. You've been an inspiration to me, Judy, and so wonderful to see you tonight. And Neil, I can't thank you enough to having this forum and connecting everybody again together, and just having a moment where we can be together, and especially in times like these, and just have a moment to escape and to hear everybody's inspiring stories, poems, photographs. I'm just, very happy just, to be here in this present moment with everyone. And speaking of my photograph, it's on page 21 of the Connections magazine. It's called Feather Ice. And it's actually frost on my windshield of my car. And one morning I was walking out and it was cold, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have to take some time to scrape my car. And I just saw this beautiful shield of frosted ice across my windshield, and it looked like feathers, looked like a beautiful Indian headdress. And I told myself I need to take a moment to photograph this moment in time and enjoy God's beauty. And I just really had to capture it in that moment, because time of scraping it or melting away, I just had to capture the beauty in that moment. And it just really heightened when you turn it black and white, and just seeing the beauty, like I said, God's beauty in that moment, being present. And I'm just glad to share that with everybody.
Thank you, Diane. Look, we could say that is very insignificant, right? What are you looking at? A windshield frozen over? But it turns out it is very significant.
Mm-hmm.
And that moment, and because it's fleeting, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to melt away. And so it's not a small, insignificant moment. It's really, really important for people to pay attention to these small details in life. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that image with us.
You're welcome. I really appreciate
and I'm sorry, I saw your name, but I didn't see you in person, and I do miss you.
Oh, I miss you guys too. I really do. Hopefully one day we can all see each other in person again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Yep. But in the meantime, we can remind ourselves of small things like ice on a windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what we got, right?
Treasuring the little things in life that are truly big at heart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like a cup of coffee.
Right. Well, I don't drink coffee, but I understand the sentiment. A cup of tea or something like that. But yes, and the idea that it's going to go away, just like the ice on the windshield. That is so great, Diane.
Thank you.
It's going to go away, right? And so, you try to, hold it, hold the beauty of the moment, right?
Yes, and you forget in that moment that you're on your way to work, you're trying to rush and trying to get things done, and it's cold outside, and I have to do the task of scraping the window, and it was a break for me in that moment. It was time for me to slow down and really enjoy and capture the ice before it melted or scraped away.
Thank you so much for that, Diane.
Thank you, Neil.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Look, I want to thank you all so much for sharing your stories and your experiences. We have writers come through, but I always thought that the Connections magazine reading was kind of like a friends and family thing, where people could just get together and have like what I mentioned earlier to Dee, that have a little bit of cider and have a couple of cookies or something like that, and just sort of, you know, just take the edge off it. And believe me, at least in my opinion, I have been so blessed by your presences this evening, by your stories. And I want to thank you. And we'll do it again. All right.
Thank you.
Off
Thank
we
you,
go.
Neil.
All right.
Thank you, Neil.
Okay.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, everybody, too.
Thank you, Erica.
All right, take care.